Hello everyone, my name is Rich Moscoso, Senior ProAV Field Applications Engineer for AVer ProAV. And today I want to discuss our new audio tracking software. So for those of you that are familiar with our AVer ProAV camera lineup, you do know that we have auto tracking cameras, and those are based off of video, right? Off a person walking back and forth, and you want the camera to follow someone like a professor or instructor at the front of the room and the camera's in the back of the room. With our PTZ Link software, we now have the ability to do audio tracking, and that's more in the sense of there's a camera in the front of the room and you would like the camera to bounce back and forth between someone speaking on the left side of the table and then go to the right side of the table when they begin to speak. So let's kind of dive into it. As always, you can reach me at rich.moscoso@aver.com should you have any additional questions. One thing that's important to understand, there are two versions of PTZ Link. There is a basic free version, and then there's a premium one. Keep in mind the free version is available for Windows and Mac. You would have to supply your own technology, right, to install this software on there. And this works with all of our ProAV camera line, whether it's the tracking cameras or the PTZ cameras. They work with all of them. With the free version, you get 5 groups and 8 audio channels. Think of the groups as a camera pairing with the mic, right? And this will probably make more sense as I go through this demo. Also, with Windows, with the Windows version only, you can also sign up for a 60-day free trial of the premium version, which is that USB auto switch. And then if you do sign up and purchase the premium license, it's $999.99. So not only do you still get the ability to control the cameras depending on which microphone is active, you can have that camera snap to a preset. You also have the ability to connect the cameras via USB. So up to 5 USB video streams are supported. You also get an additional 20 groups or 20 camera pairings and up to 128 channels of audio. What's cool about the USB video switch is that say you're in a situation where you have 2 or 3 cameras in that space in a large or very large conference room, and you would like the actual USB video feed to switch dependent on who is speaking on one side of the table or at the end of the table or the other side of the table. And this is really where that rubber meets the road, where you can get that automatically happen. Some system requirements. So if you go to our web page, this will also show up there as far as minimum system requirements for PTZ Link software to run it. So how does this work? It's available for Windows and Mac. And again, as mentioned before, it is pairing a camera with a mic system. So the mic system supported today, as of May 31st, 2022. It's the Shure microphone system, so the MXA 910, 710, 310, and even the MXCW 640 series, the wireless ones. And Sennheiser TCC2 and the Yamaha DCA RMCG. We've had some questions asked, what about the MXA 920? And it is currently in the works. The 920 works a little bit differently in the sense that it's putting out XYZ coordinates as far as where someone is in the room. I just don't know how the PTZ Link software interface is going to look like because I yet have to see that paired with the 920. So let me do this. Let me come here. So I recommend going to averusa.com, right? Click on this ProAV tile, and this will take you to the ProAV website. You can close that. You click directly on support, and you come down here to where it says software, the software tab, and scroll down, and you will see AVer PTZ Link. And as mentioned before, it's available for Windows and Mac. Um, so in today's video, I'm going to focus on the free version, right? So the free version is one where you can pair over the network or pair the camera to a microphone system over the network. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is obviously set up. In my setup, I have an MXA 310, and you want to make sure you dial in right those channels, those audio channels, make them as accurate as possible, so you don't see just because I'm in my setup here. Let me fade over here. You'll notice this is an MXA. This is MXA 310. Channel 1 is focused right towards at me. Channel 2's over to my left. Channel 3 is like more towards the camera side, and channel 4 is pointing to the to my right, or stage right. So that's how this guy is set up. And the reason this is important is that what you don't want to have is multiple channels firing, channel 2 active as I'm speaking here. So just make sure you dial that in. Again, whether it's the MXA 310, 910, 710, it's important to kind of make sure those channels are not firing off. Obviously, depending on your room, reflective surfaces can be a challenge. Windows, walls that are made of glass, that sort of thing, table that's marble can be a challenge. So just remember that the PTZ Link software will trigger based off of mic levels and the auto mix output. So this guy here. Also, there's a cool feature within the PTZ Link software. It's called time to trigger to preset. This helps to avoid the camera bouncing back and forth between camera presets, right? So say I'm speaking, channel 1 picks up, but then someone sneezes over here on this other chair to my left. You probably don't want the camera to pick that up and then go to that channel just because someone sneezed or said a hum, or is maybe coughing or something like that. So we can set this up to say time to trigger to preset. Mine's set up for 2 seconds. Basically, it's saying wait 2 seconds before you actually move to that preset, if it's still firing off, right? And that delay setting is between a half a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 seconds. So you can decide, how you want that to be in your setup. So as mentioned before, this video is going to focus on the basic free edition, and there's a couple different ways to install this, right? So again, I'll just reiterate, the idea is that you have the camera at the front of the room. When someone's speaking, say in this lobe or channel, it goes active. You would like the camera to just go to a preset to focus on that individual, or maybe there's 2 people that you would like to grab from that channel, and likewise as you work your way around the room. In my setup, which you'll see here in a second, so our ProAV cameras support up to 256 presets. I always recommend stay away from those reserved presets or special presets, whether it's a tracking camera you're dealing with or one of our PTZ cameras. And the reason why is there are some special reserved presets, right? Like the tracking cameras have, preset 1's important. Preset 6, 7, 8, and 9 is important if you're using zone tracking. And presets 10, 11, 12, and 13 are important because those are reserved for the hybrid tracking. And even with our PTZ line, we do have what's called basic smart shoot, which is I call it basic tracking because it's based off of motion. And even our PTZ cameras use presets 6, 7, 8, and 9 for that function. So I always recommend just choosing a set of presets that do not interfere with those. So in my example, I'm using presets 61, 62, 63, and 64. Again, you can totally decide what you would like to use as far as those presets. Maybe you want to start in the 100s, just to avoid anything lower than 100. So how's this thing connected? So this is one example of how you can connect PTZ Link software, again, the basic free edition. You can install PTZ Link in the room, right? On that technology that's actually in the room, connected to the camera, connected to the microphone system over the network. But keep in mind, You do need to have that PTZ Link software does need to see the camera and the mic system over the network, right? Because you are going to make that pairing or group between the camera, the microphone, and then of course PTZ Link. So this is one example. Here's another example where you don't necessarily have to install PTZ Link on that room PC, right? You could have a dedicated Intel NUC or Mac Mini with PTZ Link running in the background, right? So the idea with PTZ Link is not only does it need to be running, to set it up, but it does need to be running in order for this to work, right? So once you do the pairing, do the setup, set the presets, you're going to minimize PTZ Link, and it's going to be running in the background. So in this example, this Intel NUC is located either in a closet or a credenza or in a server room, but the idea is that PTZ Link is still going to be connected via the network to that room, right? So maybe you only have one conference room, and you could have it set up like this, but you do still need to see that microphone, that camera over the network. And then that USB output from the camera would just be feeding the in-room technology, right? Because that's going to be that USB feed for your Zoom or Teams meeting going on in that space. Here's a third example, right? So maybe you have a couple different conference rooms, and you don't want to buy a Intel NUC or Mac Mini for each of those rooms. So maybe you have 2 or 3 or 4 different conference rooms. So again, remember PTZ Link, you can use this up to 5 groups with the free version. So that could be representative of 5 rooms. So in this example, I have conference room A and conference room B. Just note that the camera IPs and mic IPs are unique. And that's so that the PTZ Link software knows which room you're talking about, right? So keep that in mind, right? So conference room A's cameras ends in 210. Conference room B's camera ends in 230. Likewise with the MXA setup, this IP address is unique 215. Over here in conference room B, it's 235, etc. Right? And this guy's unique, and this guy's unique. Because in this case, you'll notice I have 2 conference rooms set up, conference room A and conference room B, and they're each doing different things, and they're both running, right? They're both active and set. So I just brought up the PTZ Link software here. I'm going to fade over. And I actually have 4 camera pairings right here. So I currently have, so I'm going to set this up via the network, right? So I'm going to say, so let's pretend here there's nothing here, right? So I'm going to say link, and it's going to, since the basic free version, it will say connect camera via IP. With the Windows version, you can sign up for a 60-day free license of premium, and it would actually give you a selection for USB. But since we're talking about the basic free version, you're only going to see camera via IP. Next is you're going to type in the IP address of that camera. In this case, it's that. This camera account is important. This is the login credentials to that camera, right? So the camera does need to be on the network. And for those of you that don't know, the default login and password is admin, all lowercase. As soon as you type that in, it will ask you to change the default login and password. Write that down, take your time setting that up, and then that's what you're going to put in here, those credentials. So my mic IP, you need to know that. In this case, it's that. And then here, you're going to select how many channels, right? The default's 8. My MXA only supports 4, but let's say you had 2 MXAs in the room, then you could you would actually set it up twice. So in this case, it says 8 channels. And then you give this a name. So conference, if I could type, conference room A. I think there is a limit to the characters you can type in here. I think it's 18. But you say link. And what you should see now is your device has been successfully paired. So I say OK. Now, again, as I mentioned, the camera does have to be on the network because now you're going to create those presets, right? So you'll notice channel 1 is active. That's a good sign because that means it's picking me up, right, as I'm speaking currently. And there's also information here if you're wondering what the different colors and whatnot mean. You know, it shows you that the device is online, or incorrect account or password, or inactivated, that sort of thing, with this question mark. All right, so once you get that paired, you're going to say set preset. And this is where it becomes important that you have the correct login credentials to that camera, because we're now accessing that camera, and in my example, the PTZ 310 camera via the web UI of the camera. And you're going to want to come here and then create those presets, right? So again, channel 1's over here somewhere because I want, as I'm speaking here, I want the camera to snap roughly around here. As someone speaks over there, you want the camera to snap over to there, etc. But I already created some presets. So here's what 61 looks like. If I say load, it's going to come over here. And let me do this real quick. I just wanted to show this real quick. So that's what preset 61 looks like. And then likewise around the room. So as and you can use these controls, as I mentioned, to move the camera, zoom in, zoom out, you know, create these presets to what's going to make sense to that space, right? And then, as I mentioned in my example, I'm using presets in the 60s, so you could say, well, save this to preset 101, right, to represent channel 1 or what have you. So that's and then saved. So once you're done there, you could close this out or just minimize it, and then you're back to here. So the next step after you've created those presets is you're going to want to then say, all right, if channel 1 goes high, where do I want the camera to snap to, right? And this is where, again, our cameras support up to 256 presets, more than enough, but in my example, I'm saying go to 61. And if channel 2 goes high, go to 62. If channel 3, I don't want it to do anything, so it's just going to sit there with no selection. And then if channel 4 goes high, I want my camera to go to preset 64. All right, so that's how I'm set up currently. So let me transition back to here. I'm going to fade over to here. So I'm going to walk over here and let's see, is this going to make sense? So that's channel 1. Now, as I begin speaking over here, what you should see is channel 2 go high. And that's the trigger, right? It says, bam, channel 2 is high, the camera's going to go to this preset. And in this case, it's preset 62. I'll begin speaking here, and what will happen is channel 1 will go high, and then bam, it comes over here to 61. And as I begin speaking over here, this is channel 4, so channel 4 should go high, and then that will trigger the camera to come to this preset number 64. So let me come back here, begin speaking some more for channel 1, and you notice the camera snaps back over here. But let's say, let me stand up. So let's say that's cool, I like it, but you don't like all that movement, right? So let's pretend it's a large table and it's going from here and then it's coming over here to this other side of the table because that's channel 1, there's a channel 2 here, and there's a channel 3. So maybe it's a bigger swing, right? And you don't like all that movement in between. What's cool about our cameras is that we also have a feature. Let me get over here. Within our cameras, and you may have seen it before, and let me bring this over here. So if you go back to that camera, where is that? If I come back here, so like I mentioned before, you minimize this. You log back into the camera, right? You just type in the IP address. and you get to the presets, right? You'll notice there's a video freeze while preset. It's currently off, so maybe we want to enable that. And by enabling it, what you will get is that the video will actually freeze and give you like a video switcher sort of effect. So let me begin speaking over here, and this is channel 2. This is channel 2 over here, and then you'll notice I'll just pop up, right? So the preset's actually freezing until it arrives at the next preset. You can also adjust the speed of the presets. So if you wanted the cameras to kind of arrive there a little bit quicker, there's also settings for preset speed. I'm actually currently, let me fade back over. I'm currently at 100. So that's like right midway. So from 5 to 200, you can adjust how quickly that preset gets there. And likewise, if I come over here and I begin speaking for channel 4 to become active, what you'll see is that I'll just kind of pop up, right? So it kind of gives you that video switcher feel. And then I will come over here, make channel 1 go high, and then the camera comes over here to channel 1. So pretty cool, especially for the free version. I'm going to create another video that goes into more detail for the premium version and that USB video switch. So as always, thank you and good luck.